Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to cut through the noise and talk about one of the biggest moves in the enterprise world, getting ready for your SAP S4 HANA migration.
So your company is finally making the jump to S4 HANA. It's exciting, right? But it's also a huge project. And let's be honest, the to-do list can feel, well, a little overwhelming. The secret isn't trying to do everything at once. It's about doing the right things first. So, let's get into it. We're going to zero in on two absolutely critical checks. Seriously, you cannot afford to skip these. Think of them less like items on a checklist and more like the actual bedrock for your entire project. Get these right, and everything else gets easier.
All right, first up, sizing. It's kind of like building a house. You wouldn't just start throwing up walls without knowing how big the foundation needs to be, right? It's the exact same idea here. A solid migration starts with really understanding what your system is going to need down the road.
So what exactly is sizing? It's simply the process of figuring out the hardware horsepower your new S4 HANA system is going to need to run like a dream. We're talking memory, CPU, storage capacity, the whole shebang. Because if you get this wrong, you're literally building performance headaches into your system from day one.
And it's not as simple as just looking at how much data you have now. Sizing is a much bigger puzzle. You've got to consider the hardware you're on, the specific SAP software you use, all your custom settings, and even how your business actually operates. It all plays a part.
Let's break that down a bit. Of course, your current data and how fast it's growing, that's a big piece of it. But so is your hardware platform, the specific SAP modules you're running, and all those little customizations that make your system, well, your system. Every single one of these things feeds into that final calculation.
Okay, so how do we go from all these factors to an actual number? This is the cool part. SAP gives us a formula that takes us out of the world of pure guesswork and gives us a really solid guideline to start with. Let's check it out.
For your memory needs, SAP lays out a pretty simple three-step recipe. First, you take half, 50% of your current database size. Easy enough. Then you add a 20% buffer on top of that, just as a safety net. And finally, you tack on another 50 gigs for coding, stacking, and all those other background services. Simple, right?
Now that 50% rule of thumb for the HANA database itself is a great starting point. And why 50%? Well, it's because of HANA's awesome in-memory architecture and its data compression. It's just way more efficient, which is why you can start with a smaller footprint.
But, and this is a really big but, these are guidelines, not gospel. You absolutely have to do this planning as a deep collaboration. Get your team, your system architects, and your hardware partner all in the same room. Seriously, sizing is a team sport, and you all have to be on the same page.
All right, once you've got a handle on your sizing, it's time for our second critical check. This one takes us deep into the world of SAP Finance, specifically the huge shift to what's called new asset accounting.
Now, to help you with this, SAP gives you a fantastic tool, the program rasfin_migrate_precheck. And the key here is that you run this before you even think about migrating. It's basically an early warning system that tells you if you're going to hit any roadblocks with the new way asset accounting works.
So why is this so darn important? It boils down to a fundamental, non-negotiable change. See, in the old days of classic IA, you could post depreciation periodically, at the end of a period. In the new S4 HANA world, that's gone. It's over. Everything must post to the general ledger in real time.
And look, there's absolutely no wiggle room on this. The documentation is crystal clear. That old option to post periodically, it just doesn't apply anymore. Your system has to be ready for this new, real-time world. Period. So what is this little program actually looking for when you run it? Well, it's making sure all your old periodic postings are finished up. It hunts down any depreciation areas that are still set up the old way, and then it gives you the thumbs up that you've met all the technical must-haves for the switch.
Whew. Okay, that was a lot, I know. So let's pull all of this together into a super clear, actionable checklist, plus a few resources you can take with you. So here's your game plan. 1. Calculate your sizing requirements. 2. Huddle up with your architects and hardware partners to nail that down. 3. Run that critical RASFINMGRRPRECHK program. And 4, based on what that report tells you, go review your depreciation areas and plan out your adjustments. And hey, for anyone who wants to go a layer deeper, here are the direct references. We've got the link for sizing resources, plus the specific SAP notes for the database migration option, and that super important asset accounting pre-check report. Think of these as your technical homework. So after all these technical checks and balances, you can get the system itself totally ready for the migration. But that leads to the biggest question of all, doesn't it? The system might be ready, but is your team? Getting the tech right is just half the battle. Making sure your people are ready for the change, well, that's the next great challenge.